like a jack-o'-lantern out on their porch patio. I was like, what's up with the pumpkin? I didn't know if it was real or not, but I said, what's going on with the pumpkin? He's like, Halloween, man. I said, oh, I guess so. I mean, we're almost into October, which is a little bit amazing. And yeah, Halloween is just about a month away. So that was something to kind of put in my head that things are a little bit different this year, and we've been just flying through the time. So I hope everybody's having a good time out there. We're going to go through the market and kind of talk about a few things and see what I see coming through here. Let me turn one of these things off. There we go. Okay. And so yeah, everything's looking good here. For you guys, anybody want to know more information about me, who I am, what I do, how I talk about things, come over here to profitpilot.com. And then actually, I was about a day early when I wrote this one, but it looks like we're still working through that. So I'm actually going to go in through this newsletter that I was writing. And if you guys want to know more about the Moxie indicator and everything else I talk about, just go over to services here on Profit Pilot. But if you come down here, we talk about some common patterns. I'll get into that on Spotify and Wing. We'll get into those. You can see that I talk about here, and then I talk about Spotify here. And basically the idea is kind of this washout dip, this flush out dip. And I was looking at that on Friday for the market, which you can see here. As it turns out, it needed to be Monday. So Monday, I'm sure you all know that there was like a gap down on Monday. It pushed down a little bit further, and then by the end of that day, it actually double bottomed. So I'm going to get into that. You all let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if I'm kind of going the right direction for everybody. And then eventually, if there's some tickers you want to be looking at, I'll see if I can get to some of those. All right, so what we were looking at was here was Friday, and I thought that looked like kind of a good enough thing, something that price is pushing down, and we were going to start seeing some divergences. I did see some, apparently wasn't enough, so on Monday, when we really gapped down, we went to the third ATR on the daily chart, we went outside the third ATR on the hourly chart, and then here you see the double bottom on the 15. That was the real sign. On Friday there wasn't. There was just a oversold lower level, and then it bounced going into the end of the day, which basically is short covering rally. Anybody with a short, they're going to want it to start getting out of that because they don't want to be holding going into the weekend. So this was more of the confirmation right there, that double bottom on the 15-minute time frame. You could of course see it on the lower time frames as well. And then today, and actually this week, well, so let's see, today's Wednesday, so Monday, Tuesday, we saw price kind of move over the 15-minute time frame, and that's usually what I say is I at least want to see price get over the 15-minute 50, and then what I want to see is price hold the 15-minute 50, and that is where we are at right now. So I have been directing my Moxie channel and subscribers. I said, look, this is a common pattern that I see. Everything's making sense so far. We had a really good day yesterday. A lot of things have gotten extended on shorter time frames, on lower time frames. Expect a pullback, and so far that is happening exactly as I thought it was. And so, if you guys have any questions, I love to guide my subscribers into what's going on so they know. Even if we get stopped out of a few positions, or if something doesn't make sense, or something's pulling back, why is it doing it? Well, it's because the market needs to go through this process. And what I've been saying is it kind of needs to come back down here and retest some low area because we're not really sure where that is. But generally, I want to see price hold the 15-minute 50. The Moxie indicators are looking pretty good. And even on the hourly chart, you can see price down. And then you could see the Moxie indicator up slightly, but that's divergence. The Moxie indicator had a higher low compared to a much lower low on price. And so there's your divergence. The Qs are further along. So, you could say they're stronger, but they are further along. They're more developed. But even with the Qs, I said, watch out. Price is running right into the underside of the hourly 50 and also running into the underside of the 15-minute 200. And again, I said, don't be surprised, expect a pullback. What I'd like to see is price hold the 15-minute 50. So we're going to have to let the day go by and see if that's going to happen. Again, also the Moxie indicator looking pretty good. And then what you could see here is price down, Moxie indicator up. There is your divergence on the 15. And you could see the same thing here on the hourly chart, price down, Moxie indicator up, and that was the divergence that started kicking this stuff in and pushing price to the upside. And remember, if you guys have any questions, I've got classes, I've got the alerts subscription, I've got all this material and information and the indicator for sale if you guys are interested in picking up so that you can trade and see the market the way that I do. So that's the whole point of this. This is to show you a little preview of how I look at things and how things are moving and what to do about it and how you can actually do it yourself. And then IWM, looking through here, and through here, right in through here. I was right about this one. I kind of chickened out a little bit, but I was like, hey, I foresee price still getting stuck underneath a downtrending 15-minute 50, and that was pretty much spot on. We had a little bit of a fake out. I think it was like Friday morning, something like that. And then even Friday afternoon, you could see right there, it still went into a downtrending 15-minute 50 and then just kerplunk. I mean, just big old move down like that and made newer lows on this time frame. After that, you can see there's a bit of a double bottom on the 15-minute time frame, still working its way out. The IWM is going to be the laggard. It is the slowest than the rest. It's the weakest of the rest. Kind of makes sense right now. And it too, I'm trying to see if price is going to hold the 15-minute 50, because what that is doing is starting that elf shoe pattern that I talk about. Now, if you guys know me and familiar with what I talk about, you'll know that pattern. If not, come find me over at the Moxie Trader. But price down, there's your leg, there's your heel, there's the archer foot, and right about here, it looks like we're trying to form the ball of the foot. So right there, we're going to be retesting some lows, and what I want to see in the near future is actually price start to come up like that. Just be aware, we are trying to work off an oversold condition. We are moving up into resistance, and so we do need to be careful if any of this is going to go haywire. So let me show you on the SPY. Maybe that'll be a little bit easier to see. That we do have resistances overhead. We do still have the hourly 50 overhead, and we do still have the daily 50 overhead, and we do still have the 8 below the 21. So there's always the possibility that this isn't going to work. We should be able to see that based on the lower time frames. And as we keep coming up into these moving averages, we just need to be aware that this isn't necessarily right here is not necessarily the start to the next new long-term trend. This could be just some, oversold bounces into resistance, and then we might have to come back at it again, and then we'll just have to, feel it out from there. So this is going to be a kind of a day-by-day situation. I always talk to people, they say, how do you make money in the market? And I said, well, I can't predict the future, but it's like walking at night on a dirt path with a flashlight. You can use the flashlight to see just far enough in front of you so that you stay on the path, you don't run into any trees, and you don't fall off a cliff. That's usually about how I try and explain it. It's like, what's going to happen the next month or two? I don't know. But what's going to happen the next 2, 3, 4 days? I can do that a little bit better, and that's all you need in order to make money. Keep in mind, September is a historically weak month, which we have clearly seen. And then also keep in mind that we do have a big election coming up. And, I'm just not thinking that there's going to be too much of a trend going into the election. Just my thought, not political there, just that is a big news event, essentially, and that there could be some crazy movements going on there. Teresa, good to see you. But yeah, once again, let me know if you guys have anything you want to see. We'll be looking through GDX and GLD, kind of make our rounds on some of the more staple type stuff. Now, I tried taking a quick trade at this one, got stopped down, haven't tried trading it since. What I was looking for is trampoline move here, which did work for a little while, and it looked like price wanted to keep going up here over the daily 50. A little bounce off the hourly 50, and right in through here when price failed the hourly 50, that's when I got stopped out and said, well, that's not going to work. And ever since then, I just haven't been interested in it. You can see here, even on the 15-minute time frame, price ran right into a downtrending 15-minute 50, and right there, the Moxie indicator was below zero, and even yesterday, it continued that as it continued to get rejected by the 15-minute 50. So, yeah, just no interest, nothing there. I know some people are taking this stuff short, taking gold short. Great, not my style. At least not for this category of things. All right, let's see. AYX. Let's take a look at that. It's going to be in the tech sector, I believe, right? Unless I'm thinking of a different one. I believe it's tech. I'm looking for this. This looks like a double bottom. Right there. So double bottom and actually an elf shoe. So here's your leg, heel, arch of the foot, ball of the foot. And if this thing can hold, it's looking promising, the fact that this low is holding, I would want to see some traction, get this thing actually going. And what I am seeing here is right here, price is underneath the 50, the Moxie indicator above 0. That is a trampoline move. That's usually a high buoyancy, high pressure situation to the upside, where if this thing continues to work out, then that should make some good pressure to the upside. I'm also seeing a smaller double bottom right in there. And at this point, if this is going to work, let's kind of zoom in a little bit further. If this is going to work, I really would like to see price hold the hourly 50. I'd like to see price hold the 15-minute 200. The Moxie indicator is also above 0. There is a squeeze. And, first move, probably going to have to deal with the hourly 200. Can it ping pong between it, something like that? And can it eventually get past the hourly 200? Let me show you a couple examples of what I'd be seeing with that work and don't work. So SPCE. I was looking for this one to do one of those trampoline moves and finally move. It didn't, so move aside for now. Right here, you can see price was able to cross the 50 and got rejected by the 200, got rejected by the 200, and then got rejected by the 200. All right. And so the same thing there with AOIX is, can it finally actually get through and past the hourly 200? So that's kind of what we're looking at. Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Doesn't look like I'm dropping any frames either, so should be all right. Ever since that didn't hold, move aside, waiting for price to get back on top of some of these moving averages and see if it's going to work. So space, not the place to be. Another one, let's see, I think it was, let's talk about Spotify, because I'll circle back to the ones we were looking at. Right in through here and right in through here, we were looking at, here's your level. So don't mind my alert thing right there, but here's your level. And then usually when you look at a double bottom, if it's not going to hold and it's eventually going to turn around, you see a big down washout move like that. And then that's usually okay. Takes out everybody's stops, takes out all of these weak hands, and then starts to be able to float price back up and all of that. And so then what you're seeing is price finally getting past the hourly 50 and kind of making its way up, using the 15-minute 50, and also getting past the 15-minute 200. So still kind of waiting and looking at this one. Another example that I used was Wing. Kind of take a look at this one. Yep, same kind of deal here. So looking all right. So there's your kind of double bottom. There was your level. There was your drop and flush out. Tried to test it one more time, and I went in here when price got back on top of the 15-minute 50. Now, Wing, I might need to be doing something about this one. I am wondering if price is actually going to be running into the underside of the daily 21. Oftentimes when I see that, I see price wanting to come back down to the hourly 50 and then move back up. So kind of realize that we might be, as things are low and they want to work themselves high, they don't just usually go straight up. They have to go up and pull back and then up and then maybe pull back again. So yeah, keep that one in mind. Kirk, yeah, Marco, I have Kirk as well. And it was great this morning. Now it's just back to neutral. So I'm going to have to give it a little bit more time and see if this thing is actually going to work. But I looked at this and I said, okay, it's bouncing off the hourly 50, looking pretty good. And I could see that there was resistance at the hourly 200. This is a pretty typical pattern for me. And then what I waited for to see is, well, which way is it going to go and which way is it going to hold? And then it came back down and held the hourly 50. And so that at least showed me that the likelihood of it wanting to go up, because, well, it's in an uptrend, right? The daily chart is an uptrend. The daily chart has the 8 over the 21. All of that said uptrend. And so when it came back down and tested the hourly 50 for a second time, usually what I see after that is then price is able to actually break past that initial resistance that it had here, which was the hourly 200. This morning looked pretty good. Looked like it wanted to do that. And you could see yesterday when I got in, price was over the 15-minute 50 and the Moxie indicator was coming up. So all of that was looking pretty good. Nice little pop. Now at this point, if this is going to work, I'd really like to see price hold the 15-minute 50. I need to see price hold the hourly 50, and I need to start seeing this thing actually be able to get past the hourly 200. So if it can't do that, got to get out. And then Vinicus, Ashley Marie, I'm not sure what that ticker is, so if you guys can give me a ticker, then I can work with that. All right, let me look at a couple other tickers we're looking at. QDEL. This one has been mentioned a lot. And initially, what I've been talking about this one is similar to Spotify, similar to the Wing, similar to these other names that have these moving averages overhead, and also kind of like Kirk, where it had the 200 overhead. Notice here with QDEL, we originally had price holding the hourly 50, right? Pretty good situation. And then up here, it's kind of having some troubles at the hourly 200. It's running right into it. Is it going to be able to get past it? Not quite sure. It seems to me that there's starting to become a little bit of an unsupported gap between price and the hourly 50, and I think that could be some issue, some problem, because price is running into a moving average overhead, and if it can't and just keep pushing through that moving average, then it's going to come back down to support to then try that a second time. And so the risk right now, the risk for price is probably to the downside, to where it might want to come back down to the hourly 50. The other thing I see is on the daily chart, the 8 is still below the 21, so we're going to have to work on that. This is just what I call the first move, and then I look for price to pull back down, and then I look for the second move. Let me show you what that looks like on another chart. ALKS. And we'll have to see if this swing actually starts working. It's not quite there yet, so we're getting very, very close to what I'd be enjoying. So similar to QDEL, and I've been talking about this in some of our options room stuff, but here's your double bottom, and price right here with the Moxie trigger was able to actually get past the hourly 50, and for a moment it held up here at the hourly 200. Now in this case, it was able to push through for a little bit, but it made it unsupported. Once again, look at that gap right here between price and the hourly 50. So whenever price was finally said, I've had enough, and it wanted to come back down, it did one day right there at the hourly 50, and then decided to come back down through. Now I'm actually looking at this again for the long side at some point, because it tried to get past the daily 50 once, and I think that, kind of the way you think about it is like you knock on the door once and then you open it the second time. A lot of times that's what I see with moving averages. Their first time they get to it is kind of that test, and they pull back, kind of get some steam, build some strength, and then the second time is when they can actually get through. And so I'm looking at that. The other thing I see is the 8 is over the 21, so that's positive, that's bullish. And then the other thing I see here on the hourly chart is that price is below the hourly 50, but the Moxie indicator is still above 0, and that's what I call a trampoline move. That's a high buoyancy condition, similar to the AYX that I mentioned earlier today. So I'm looking for that, still not quite ready. I'm going to give it another, I don't know, day, 2 or 3, whatever it takes, but I'm not quite seeing that it's ready yet. It's on my radar, so. All right, yeah, let me know if you guys have any other names or tickers that you want to be going through, looking at, and we'll see what we can find. I know Docu was one that people were talking about, and this so far has had a great move. It's not quite ready for me, especially since, if you weren't able to get it on this double bottom and the Moxie indicator right there looking real, real nice, and you can see here, so far it's been following the 15-minute 50 pretty well. In fact, it's been doing it too well. So here's kind of the issue that I see. Notice that price has not touched the 15-minute 50 this entire time. That is great because it's been such a good, strong, fast move, but it's not great because it's unsupported. Even the lowest time frame that I look at hasn't even touched its moving average. That is usually a problem. At some point, price is going to want to come back down and touch that and fix that. Same thing, it hasn't even touched the hourly 50 either, and like I've said before in some of these other names, it's running into potential resistance at the hourly 200. So I'm seeing that as an issue. The other thing I'm also seeing here on the daily chart is that the 8 is still below the 21. So it's still working its way up. I'd consider this kind of just a bounce. I like the second entry, so I'm going to be looking for price to come back down, find some support someplace. Probably it's going to be the hourly 50 is my assumption right now, and then I'd be looking for a long after that. But that's my idea when it comes to Docu. All right, let's see. Pinterest. Where would you get out? Well, here's my guide. So a couple things. Pin has gone vertical, okay? Just like Docu, great move if you're in it. But if you're in it, you need to be careful to the downside, because price, same thing as Docu, has not touched the 15-minute 50 is very far away from the hourly 50, and it's outside of the 30 ATRs on both the daily and hourly chart. This thing is, for all intents and purposes, extended for this period of time. Now, maybe if you're hanging on to this thing longer term and if you're fine with pullbacks and all that kind of stuff, great. But if you're like, hey, this was an amazing move and I want to cash in and I foresee this thing coming back down and I want to reload later, then great. Right now, probably the best idea is to use the 15-minute 50 as a guide, but honestly, I would probably be taking some off here because they don't usually stay up that vertical for that long. So just be wary of that. It's going to be two parts. One, I like to cash in sometimes. So I would take something like this, I would just cash some in. Number two, I would wait and see, can price continue to hold the 15-minute 50? And when it probably breaks the 15-minute 50, that's when I get out of the rest of it, and then I'd look later to add to a next position, probably when the hourly chart starts to engage. Yeah, then Brian, I was looking at LRCX. It's very similar to kind of QDEL and all that kind of stuff that I'm looking at. This, for me, is the first move. So what I mean by that is this is really kind of a 15-minute move. You know, price is holding the 15-minute 50. But I foresee that, you know, either there's going to be resistance here at the hourly 200 or the fact that the daily chart still has the 8 below the 21. So there's usually a process to this. You know, I kind of see like price comes up and then it pulls back and then it goes. So right now what you're doing is you are catching this first move. I personally like to catch the second move, so I would be waiting until this thing exhausts itself, just like QDEL, and then I would wait for price to come back down a little bit, and then I'd enter there and go up. So I'd probably be waiting until price re-engages the hourly 50 at some time in the future. So that's what I'm looking at for LRCX. And if you're in it, you know, what do you do? Well, same thing I said with pins and these other ones. Follow the 15-minute time frame. See if price can hold the 15-minute 50, and or if it actually makes it to the 200, that might just be a place that I get out. I'm not sure that it's going to be able to reach that far, but we just don't know, and that's where you use the 15-minute time frame as a guide. And then that's the AMAT, if I can type it correctly. There we go. But yeah, Brian, you're definitely on it with LRCX and AMAT. Yeah, kind of the same situation. So it looks like you've got a pretty good eye for this. You're definitely catching a few things. Here's your double bottom. You can also see divergence, and you can see here's your divergence on the 15, and right here there's price getting over the 15-minute 50 and following the 15-minute time frame. But the same issue, I'm starting to see this quite a bit. Notice that price has not even touched the 15-minute 50. So you think about a tree branch kind of hanging out there, and the only thing that's supporting it is the root of the branch all the way back down here. And if you've got a bird sitting 4 or 5 feet out on that branch, that's a lot of torque that's trying to pull on that branch. And you got to think about how much weight is out here at the end of that branch when the only thing holding it up is the last time it touched the 15-minute 50. So think about that. You can also see that there's some distance here between, well, ignore the arrows, but distance between price and the hourly 50. And just like all these other ones I was mentioning, you're running into the underside of the daily 21 because the 8 is still below the 21. So yes, there has been a first move. I'm looking for a second move, and I imagine that price is going to come up here, probably come down a little bit, and then go like that. It may not happen perfectly like that. Price might continue to move up and then down and then up. So, you know, as long as you can, hang on to this move, and don't be surprised when there's a pullback. You can then catch that pullback if it's going to work, and then you can look for that move up. So that's what I'm looking at for a lot of these, you know, first part, second part, or first move, second move. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. It's usually what I teach my students and subscribers and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm looking at. And I think that's kind of where we're going to be wrapping up today. Once again, you know, come over here to profitpilot.com. This is some of where I talk about things with the newsletters. And then if you guys are interested in the Moxie indicator, because that is the single best tool. It's the tool that I helped create and that I use. It's the only thing that helps me with the market, gives me some edge, and gives me some guidance as to what's going on. And then if you guys are interested in getting into the alert service and then getting into the class, anything like that, so you can learn how I teach, come over here to the services portion of Profit Pilot. So once again, thank you everybody for joining. Happy Wednesday. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll check in next week and see what goes on. All right, everyone, take care.